Hi, so today we are gonna try the Picasso Spatula, and I actually have two of them. I think this is the initial version and this is the second version. I think they specifically made this for cushion foundation. The shape is for cushion foundation, but I feel like the shape of this, the spatula is here. I think the shape of this is very good for foundation in a jar as well. And I just want to try if the different type of shape change anything. So in general, this trend is to just spread your foundation with the spatula on your skin before you actually apply it. And I think this method is actually very good, especially for those of you that you don't want to apply a heavy layer of foundation, or your foundation is very easily, how to say, like looking heavy. I think this would help. And I have always been using some sort of this kind of technique in the past. So I would spread my foundation very thin with my finger first, which I think in some of a way mimics the spatula, or I would blend it on the sponge, the surface of the sponge, so the sponge has even thin coat of foundation, and I will stamp on my face. I think that's also kind of mimicking this. When this trend first hit the internet, I was kind of skeptical about it, and I watched a lot of reviews. Some of them say it works for them, and others say that this is nothing different than just to spread your foundation with your finger and then blend it. So I first tried it with this Muji spatula, which I think is a couple dollars. It's not that expensive at all, and I really loved the application. I think for all the reviews I have seen, I feel like people with more textured skin in general can spot a difference. And the ones that says it makes no difference are people with like super great skin, which I think makes sense, because if you have great skin, the foundation just looks effortless regardless. That's my opinion. But for me, I have big pores and I have oily skin, like normal, leaning oily in the summer, in the hot weather. So my foundation, if it's heavy, it's gonna move easily, it's gonna settle easily. So I think the spatula is really helping a lot to spread it very thin, and it won't get absorbed by the sponge too much because it's super thin. I find if you just put a glob of foundation on your face, your sponge are gonna absorb a lot of that, and the sponge is gonna be hard to clean, and you're wasting foundation and it's uneven, right? So this way of spreading is actually really good, and because it's a spatula, it's now your finger is putting more of like an even pressure on your skin, and I think in general you can apply a thinner layer than your finger would do. So today I just want to know, does this not super expensive because they're like under $20, but still for a spatula, $20 is not a reasonable price for me. So I would just want to try if, you know, like I said, if the shape or the brand actually make a difference, or the whatever metal. I would want to say metal one is probably better because they are typically thinner than the plastic ones. Yeah, what I want to trying to figure out is are these the same, and also is there any difference within their own brand. Okay, enough of talking. Okay, too much talking already. Let's just start, and I think I'm gonna use the SUQQU, the cream foundation, because this is the one I always use these days with this one. And one thing is very good about this is, you see this is like a big, almost paddle kind of tip. It can easily get just enough foundation from the jar. I can just scoop it out like this. Whereas this one, I feel like it might be hard to scoop out foundation from a jar. Let's try. Well, I guess it still works, right? And normally you would see people put foundation on their hand and then slide their spatula to get foundation even like this, and then they would spread it on their face. Ooh. Okay, one thing that I can notice right now is better than the Muji one, because the Muji one is literally, you know, this part is not straight, right? It's only this part, so you can't really spread this wide, if that makes sense. I mostly just use this part, so it's like only like this amount of width you're getting, if that makes sense. And the forehead, and sometimes I even use this to put some on my lid. Okay, actually the spatula come with 2 sponges, so let's use the sponge. The way I love to use this sponge is, first I spread the foundation evenly on my skin, right? And I spray it a little bit, because this sponge, they are not the type that will expand and become larger. These are just wet or dry, they're just staying like this. And I just pat the moisture evenly, and then I blend with this. Why is this not blending well? I feel like this sponge is not great. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. This sponge is truly not doing it for me. You know what? Let's redo this. This sponge is garbage. I think the spatula has 2 versions. One is with the sponge and one is without. I can be wrong, don't quote me on that, but I think my recommendation is don't get the one with the sponge. The sponge is garbage. Okay, we are closer on the take 2 so that you can see better. And now I have nothing but skincare and sunscreen. And let's do this again. Now let's blend with my own sponge, which is actually the same type, but I just think mine actually does a way better job at blending. The other one wasn't even blending, they're just pushing the foundation around, I think. Same process, setting spray on the sponge and pat it on the back of my hand even. I do feel like this is giving an even thinner of a layer than my SUQQU spatula. I think the SUQQU one, when I'm done blending, I get a little bit more coverage because it's generally putting more on my skin. Okay, but I do think you can tell it's a super light layer of foundation, and it gives me some coverage. Like you can see this side, I have basically all of the redness was covered. The other one does not come with a sponge. I thought this one gonna be easier to take foundation, but it's actually a little too short to reach the bottom. But I guess if the jar is full or like half full, it can work. But okay, I still got some. This is actually feeling more like the Muji one, the way this one spreads. Maybe let's change to another clean side. This is one thing I really like about this type of sponge. They have so many different surfaces, so this one sponge I can use this for like 6 times because there's 6 surfaces, and each time I can use a clean surface, so I don't have to wash my sponge after every single use, and I still have a very like a clean sponge in some sort every time. Today the car is not chilling outside. The finish is pretty close, right? It's not that different, but as much as I can tell, I think this one, the second one, actually put more foundation on my face, so it has a little bit more coverage, just a touch more coverage than this side, which is the first version of this. And I don't really want to layer foundation because I think for me this is enough of coverage, and the whole purpose of this product is to make the application thin, not to layer it to full coverage. At least that's what I am understanding from this trend. So let's finish my face and come back. Okay, my makeup is done and it's time for the conclusion. I think after setting the skin with powder, it's when you can see the skin condition the best, because all the shine has been blurred out. You can actually see the texture. For me, I think these two both applied less product than this one I was using. So this is my guess. I think the edge you are spreading foundation with, the narrower the edge is, the more product you're gonna apply on your face. That's my guess, because for me this one applied the thickest layer. Still is a very thin layer. I'm just comparing all of them. And this one applied less than this, but more than this. And this one applied the thinnest layer of foundation on my skin. So I do think if you want to apply a semi-thin layer, but you don't want the coverage to be like too sheer, maybe get yourself one that has like a narrower edge. And if you want just the absolutely the thinnest foundation to be spread on your skin, get a longer, like a straight longer one, because this one, even though it's long, it's like has this weird shape, so you're gonna really, I'm just using this part to spread the foundation. I would say the price actually doesn't matter that much, because I get great results from all of these three. It's just the shape is making the difference. So picking out a shape that you like, make sure it's a thin spatula. Don't use the super thick ones, and make sure the edge, this edge, it's not like how to say, like a straight, like a square type of edge. Make sure it's a round edge, so it's like smooth all around. It's gonna help the foundation to glide. Pay attention to the shape. I do want to say the metal ones is probably better than the plastic one, so make sure you get a metal one. Other than that, I don't think the price, the brand actually matters. It is all about the shape. So again, I'm gonna repeat. First of all, look at the shape. You want a longer edge or a shorter or narrower edge. Second of all, make sure the edge is round, it's smooth, it's not like a square edge. And third of all, pick a metal, a stainless one. Yeah, that's all I'm getting from this comparison. I feel like for these tools things in general, the more expensive doesn't mean the better. What is matters is what type of product it works for you and what type of product you want. So yeah, I actually liked all three. I would continue to use all three. I would just maybe if this is a more fuller coverage foundation, I might reach for this one. If this is already a very sheer foundation, I might reach for this one. or if I want something in the middle, or if I ever buys a cushion foundation, I would use this one. I still think this might be good for scraping out stuff from a jar. It's just not when the jar is almost empty, and it actually also has a little scoop at the end. So I actually really like this shape, and I feel like it might be a little bit too thin, but it looks like something you use for massage. I am rambling a little too much. I think you already understand what I want to talk about in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.